Hello guys, today we are going to discuss C Sharp interview questions and answers. In this video, I have covered most of the questions which we normally encounter when we are attending any C Sharp interview. So C Sharp interview in the sense like it can be ASP.NET MVC interview, it can be ASP.NET web form interview or else web API interview. Wherever C Sharp is there, so you will be asked this set of questions. So I am assuming you have around 2+ years of experience while you are going through this interview. Here I will be covering some of the major questions with examples and coding. So let's get into the questions and answers. So first question will be what are the difference between ref and out keyword? The answer will be like ref keyword. It is necessary the parameter should initialize before it passes to ref. So when it comes to out keyword, it is not necessary to initialize parameters before it passes to out. So next difference will be it is not necessary to initialize the value of a parameter before returning to the calling method. When it comes to out, it is necessary to initialize the value of a parameter before returning to the calling method. So I think this will be a little confusing. Let me explain with respect to coding. So what I am going to do, I will be creating a new console application. Here I will be covering all these things. So let's name this as, I am just selecting console app which is of .NET framework. So we'll name it as interview preparation. So I'm going to create. So I have already created this project. So I will be going with questions, answers. So let Visual Studio create this project. So in this thing I will be showing the difference between ref and out. So what I am going to do, I am just going to create a variable int a is int a. I am not declaring any value here. So let's see how this out and ref behaves. So first thing I will be creating a ref method here. Show value, I am going to create ref int ref a. So then we'll go and create a method. So here I will be returning a plus equal to a. So as you saw in this slide, ref, it is necessary the parameter should initialize before it pass to ref. What I mean to say, see here I am trying to pass a ref variable a. I have not initialized it, I just declared a variable without value. So what it is telling, so use of unassigned local variable. So this will give a build error because you have to give the value when you are passing a method which is expecting ref. So what I am going to do, I will just give some value, that error will go away. So we'll see how that out behaves. So I am going to create a variable named b. So I will set value out b. Okay, so we'll go and create a method, control dot will give you a method. So what I'm going to do, I'm giving same thing here, b plus b is equal to b. So we'll see what is the difference now. As I said earlier, so ref should be initialized before it is passing to any method. When it comes to out, you don't have to give the value to the variable, but whatever the calling method must return this value, b is equal to 2. So in this way we can demonstrate the difference between ref and out. I hope you guys have got fair knowledge on this. If you want a common example of ref and out, I will explain. Like, you can call this ref is a prepaid SIM, so where you will be recharging, then you are calling. So when it comes to out, you are calling first, then you are paying the money. So postpaid, you can call it as a postpaid. So postpaid, what we normally do, we will do all the transaction, then we will pay at the end of the month. So end of the month will nothing but, you can call it as a method here. So method will give the value to you. Method will give you the value to you. So it is nothing but bill. So that will be updated here. When it comes to ref, it is prepaid. You have to assign the value, then you have to pass it. I hope you guys have understood the difference between ref and out. So let's get into next thing. What is the difference between abstract and interface? So when it comes to any interview, if you are an experienced guy, if you are a fresher, whatever it is, when it comes to OOPS concept, first and most question will be, what is the difference between abstract and interface? So abstract, it contains both declaration and definition part. So interface should contains only a declaration part. So let me get into this with example. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create abstract class, my class, my abstract class. So I will be creating a class with abstract. It is not a method, sorry, from my end. So I have created a class with abstract. So here I will be creating a public void display. So this method does not have any implementation, so it is telling so it has to be abstract method. Okay, so this one. So one more thing with respect to abstract class, we can create a method with implementation. So what I'm going to do, public void, will give some method name, my method console dot write line. So something you can, my method. So this is how you can create an abstract class with both concrete method and a definition of the method. So let me create an interface. We'll see interface, my interface, here I will be creating a method. I'm just explaining something here. Void display my name. So you can observe here. So I will just copy this and I will paste it here. So I will rename the method my method 1. So you can see this feature default interface implementation is not available in C# 7.3. Please use language version 8.0 or greater. So as of now, this implementation for this method is not available in interface. So I have to delete that. In method and interface will not have implemented methods. So next thing is, so when it comes to this, whatever the methods inside the interface are explicitly public. So we cannot add a public access specifier inside the interface. So that is one more thing. So let me do one thing, public static int my variable is equal to 3. what I'm going to do, I'm going to do same thing here. See, sorry. So here feature again it will not be available because you cannot create variables inside my interface, whatever it is. So this is the difference between interface and abstract class. So I have explained it contains both abstract declaration and definition part. It contains only declaration part. Multiple inheritance is not achieved by abstract class. Multiple inheritance is achieved by interface. Let's see what it is. So I have created one more class. I will create one more abstract class. I will create abstract class 1, display 1, my method 1, variable 1. So what I am going to do, I will create one more interface, my interface 1, display method 1, and method 1 is there. I will make it 2. So let's see, I am going to inherit this abstract class and I am going to inherit my abstract class 1. Sorry, I have to inherit inside this public class, program class. So see this, so let me put this outside. So now I am going to inherit my abstract class 1. So it will show up error, does not implement display. Let me do that. So we have to implement whatever the abstract method when you are inheriting abstract class. So what I am going to do, abstract class 1. So this thing will not be possible. See, the class cannot have multiple base classes. So you cannot have multiple parents for a base class. That is what it is trying to say. So let's see what is the case with respect to my interface. My interface 1, okay. My interface 2, my interface 1. So it is, what is the error it is giving? We have to implement the methods inside my child class. So this multi-level inheritance is possible with interface, but it is not possible with abstract class. So this is the difference. So when it comes to abstract class, it contains constructor, but when it comes to interface, it does not contain constructor. As I already shown, it can contain static members, but it does not contain static members. It can contain different type of access modifier like public, private, protected. So when it comes to interface, it will always be public. You don't have to mention that. The performance of an abstract class is fast. The performance of abstract class interface is slow because it requires time to search actual method in the corresponding class. So these are all the major difference when it comes to abstract class and interface. So there are other differences, like a class can have only one abstract class that I already shown to you. It can be fully, partially, or not implemented at all. It should be fully implemented. Let's say you have 10 methods inside your interface. Whenever a class extends or implements that particular interface, it has to implement all the methods inside that interface. So I hope you got enough knowledge on interface and abstract. So let me recall once again. When it comes to abstract class, it can contain both declaration and definition part. When it comes to interface, it is only declaration part. So multi-level, you can call it as multiple inheritance is achieved by interface, where multiple inheritance is not allowed in abstract class. So it can contain static members, whereas interface does not contain static members. So all the methods or variables inside interface are explicitly public. When it comes to abstract class, it can be public, private, protected, whatever it is. So this is the difference between abstract class and interface. Let me get into next interesting topic, garbage collection. So CLR, our C Sharp CLR takes care of garbage collection of managed code. When it comes to unmanaged code, for example, you are trying to read a file or connecting to database, you have to explicitly dispose that object. Otherwise, our garbage collector will not come to know, will not understand, or will not remove that allocated memory. So let us go with this. Let us understand what is basically a garbage collection. So garbage collector serves as an automatic memory manager. So let's say you have created a class object, you have done some operation, you have added some values to your properties and all. So once that particular scope is gone, so garbage collector will take care of memory deallocation. So next thing is the garbage collector manages the allocation and release of memory for an application. So it is responsible for memory management, you can call it as. So next thing is garbage collection is a process of freeing up memory that is captured by unwanted object. So you got what is garbage collector. What does garbage collector do? It basically takes care of memory allocation. So you can call it as automatic memory manager. So when it comes to unmanaged code, as I said earlier, you are reading a file or opening a file, you're connecting to database, or you're doing some external activities inside your code. So in that case, you have to explicitly implement a disposable interface. Using that, you can use dispose method that will take care of garbage collector. So next thing will be like object.finalize. These two methods you can use in order to take care of unmanaged code garbage collection. So we'll get into next thing, what are extension methods in C Sharp. So extension methods are simple. So let me take like these are all these methods enable you to add methods to existing types without creating a new derived type. So you don't have to recompile it, or you don't have to modify the original type. So still you can create a method. Those are all those methods are called as extension methods. Basically these extension methods are static methods, but they are called as if they were instance methods on the extended type. So I think this will be little confusing. Let me explain some of the example so that you guys will understand better. Okay, so what I have done, I have created a method. I have created a class with the name of my extension. What I am trying to do here, this class is static class, so you don't have to create an object of it. So that is the major behavior, you can call it as character or behavior of how you are going to create an extension method. That has to be static class. Then whatever the methods inside that should be static. Those methods are called extension methods. What I am trying to do, and one more important thing is it has to be with this keyword. Whatever the method parameters should be with this keyword. So what I am going to do, I have just created a method called word count. In this I am passing a string where it will split using characters empty and dot. So it will give me the output. So this extension method I have to call inside my program. So what I have done here, see here, I have not created an object of this my extension class. Still I can able to call my method. See, this is s dot is my string dot word count. You might have seen s dot toString, right? So this is an extension method. Like this, I have created one more extension method, word count. You can see this extension int string word count. So extension methods allows you to create extra methods without altering the type of this class or derived class. So that is what extension methods. So as I said, enable you to add methods to existing types without creating a new derived type, or you don't have to recompile it or modifying the original type. So this is the extension method. Let's say you have a scenario like you want to show up full name without creating a variable in your employee class. How will you going to achieve this? So you have first name and last name, so you don't have to create a variable. So in that case, use extension method, pass this first name and this second name, whatever it is, return that first name plus last name, so that will give you a full name. So you are not doing anything, you are just calling that method will return you the full name. So that way you can use extension method in your real-time application. I'm just giving the example. There are many of those, you can use whatever you wish. So next important question will be generics. What is generics? Generic means the general form, not specific. So it can be anything. You can add int, you can add type of int, string, object, whatever it is. In C Sharp, generic means not specific to a particular data type. So C Sharp allows you to define generic classes, interfaces, abstract classes, fields, methods, static methods, properties, events, delegates, operators using type parameter and without specific data type. A type parameter is a placeholder for a particular type specified when creating an instance of the generic type. So let's see how we can do this with Visual Studio. So before getting into actual code, we have to use t, where t is a type parameter. So it has to be within angle brackets after a type name t. So let me show how I have done with respect to this one. So I have created a class called data source. There I am passing data source, as I said, angle brackets, with inside that it should be t. So where t can be anything. So I'm not defining what is this t does. So when it comes to this, so I have a class here. What I am trying to do, so I have created data source string store new data source string. So here I am explicitly mentioning the type t. When you go inside, you have not mentioned any type here, but when it comes to here, you have to mention the type. So let me show one more example. Data source, data store, it can be like whatever you give it. So double, it will take care of your coding. You don't have to worry about typecast and all. So it will take care of new data source double. So this is what we call generics. So let me show how we can call different data types. So I have created one more class, generic class, with key value pair, where t key and t value. Public t key I have defined, it is basically key and value. Let's see how we can initialize this. So I have created a variable where I am passing int string. You can add, you can manipulate whatever you want. It need not to be int string, it can be anything. You can give your object also, no worries. You can give whatever you want, you wish to, you can give. So that will take care of typecasting. You don't have to worry about typecasting when you are creating an object like this. That is the feature of generics. It is not specific to any type. That is what generic means. So let's see how we can achieve generic methods. So what I have done, I have created a method swap. So whenever you want to create a generic method, it has to be something like this. This name can be anything. So static, void, you can return whatever you want. So here I'm just using reference just to make sure that this value gets updated without returning. So what I am doing, LHS and RHS, what I am trying to do here, just I am reversing, you can call it swapping two numbers, two strings, whatever the input comes for this, since generic words, whatever the type. We'll see this in action, how I am going to do this. So whatever I have done, swap int ref a1 ref b1. So a1 is 1, b1 is 2. So here I don't have to worry about type. I don't have to worry about type. So I can pass swap int is there, right? In place of that I can pass string. Here you have to pass a variables. It can be anything. You don't it need not to be int. Here it has to be string. So you can pass string. You can give whatever str1 die str2. You can give your text. So here you have to pass this value. So here whenever you can see this int string, I am reusing the code. So the main advantage of generic is reusability, scalability. You don't have to worry about type and all. So that is the main advantage of generics. And as I said, I am not returning anything, so that will take care of string 1 2 will be interchanged. I hope you got enough knowledge on generics. Let's move to something extra. One more question: array and array list. So you might have seen array and array list in C#. So array is fixed size. When it comes to array list, it grows dynamically. So whenever you are trying to add an element to your array list, it keeps on increasing. So default size is 4. Whenever you add a fifth element, it will double its size, 4 to 8. Whenever you add 8th element, it will double 16th, something like that. It will keep on doubling whenever it reaches certain level. So when it comes to array, you cannot add extra element. You can add, but it will give out of index exception. So let me see this in action now. So I have created an int array of type integer where the size of this is 3. So this is how you can add an element to array. So array, if I try to add int of, let me show this to you. I will add 2, I will add 3. So this will allow you to add, but when this line comes to execution, this will throw up an exception, array out of range exception, because you are assigned an array with 3 0 1 2. Array starts with index 0, not with 1. So when it comes to array list, see, I have created an array list, new array list, a1 dot add 1. So I am adding an integer here, I am adding an string here. So you don't have to worry about type. You can add whatever you want with when it comes to array list, and you can give n number of values. You don't have to worry about size here. So that is the major difference between array and array list. So rest are like this has fixed size and can't increase or decrease dynamically. Size can be increased or decreased dynamically when it comes to array list. So array belongs to system.array namespace. When it comes to this, system.collection namespaces. In arrays, we can store only one data type, either int, string, or character. You can call it as primitive. In array list, we can store different data type variables. So insertion and deletion operation is fast. That is the difference between array and array list. Insertion and deletion operation in array list is slower than an array. So these are all strongly typed. It is need not to be strongly typed. Arrays cannot accept null, whereas array list can accept null. So let us go to next question. So what is inheritance? Does C# support multiple inheritance? You already know inheritance is nothing but acquiring some of the properties of a master class. What I mean by master class? Say you have a, let me take an example of animals. Human, lion, tiger, whatever it is. We all have common properties like eyes, nose, legs, hands. So these are all common properties. When it comes to different properties like human can speak, when it comes to lion they will not speak, when it comes to dog they will not speak, but there are some common properties as I said. Those are all called, those you can list it in parent class, that we can inherit in our child class. Let's say human, let's say lion, let's say tiger. So those are all common properties we can acquire in our child class. That is what inheritance means. So there is a way we can prevent inheritance using seed class and static class. Static class cannot be inherited, seed class cannot be inherited. So does C# support multiple inheritance? For this question the answer is no. C# will not support multiple inheritance, but it supports multi-level inheritance in the form of interfaces that I have already explained to you. Multi-level inheritance is different, multiple inheritance is different. Why it is not supported? As I said, a base class cannot have multiple parents. Ironically, it is not acceptable. So that is how when C# was developed, they have not allowed multiple inheritance to be. It will simply create, in terms of technical, it will simply create compiler to conflicts, which one to assign, which one to not to assign. So it will make code much worse. So it will not look, code will not look cleaner. So that is why, keeping those things in mind, C# will not allow multiple inheritance. So what do you mean by boxing and unboxing? So when it comes to boxing converts value type to a reference type. What do you mean by value type? Value type will be int, character, whatever it is. So reference type is only object, which is an implicit conversion process using object value. Unboxing converts reference type to value type. So using explicit conversion process. You can term boxing as implicit conversion. When it comes to unboxing, you can term it as explicit conversion. Let's see how this works. So I have created a variable with int num is equal to 23. 23 will be assigned to a num. So what I mean by implicit conversion is I am converting this num to object type. So that is what we call boxing. Object obj is equal to num. So this is just reverse when it comes to unboxing. I'm just, as I said, I created int num, then object I am converting to num, then unboxing I am converting object back to my original type int I, which is of type object. I am just explicitly mentioning int is my type. So one more important question when it comes to C#, what is reflection in C#? So basically reflection will be used to obtain the information at runtime. So you can access the class metadata or whatever metadata of the running program, which are available under system.reflection namespace. You can see like whether it's dynamic types, add types, values, objects to the application. So one example of that reflection is get type. What is the type of your object? So I have given simple code here. So int I is equal to 42, type is equal to I dot get type. So it will basically print integer. So you can get the type up. So type of int assembly. So this is high level explanation about a reflection. There is much more topic, there are much more topics inside this reflection. So if you tell this many things, so it's basically helps you to access information during runtime. So that is what interviewer will be expecting. So let us get into next question, constant and read only. So read only keyword can be created using read only keyword. When it comes to constant fields are created using const keyword. So read only is a runtime constant is a compile time constant. So the value of the read only can be changed through constructor, that I will explain in Visual Studio. The value of the constant field cannot be changed. Once you initialize, once you define, that's it, you cannot change. But this value of the read only field can be changed through the constructor. Let's say you have added some read only fields in your class. That constructor will allow you to update those read only values when you are creating an object of that particular class. So it cannot be declared inside the method. Read only fields are not allowed to declare inside the method. But when it comes to constant, it can be declared inside the method. Let's see how this works in the action. So what I have done, I have created a read only field, two read only fields. What I am doing, I am creating a public constructor of that program class. Here I am assigning the value for that. My var1 is equal to b, my var2 is equal to c. So whenever you are trying to create program class, program my object is equal to new program, so you can give values you want. So these two values will be assigned to my read only fields. So when it comes to constant, it will not allow you to change any values once this is initialized. So you cannot modify this field no matter where you are calling. Once you initialize, that's it, it will be fixed. You cannot change the value of constant variables. I hope you understand constant and read only thoroughly. So we'll get into next question, string and string builder. This is very much important question. So string and string builder is that objects are immutable, where string builder creates a mutable string of characters. So what do you mean by mutable and immutable? So immutable in the sense, let's say you have created a string of type string s is equal to Uday. In that case, it will create a space for that particular object. String is an object, it is immutable. So when you're trying to modify that value, s is equal to something else, that time it will not modify the old value. Instead, it will create one more placeholder in the heap. So same, but when it comes to string builder, it is not like that. It will keep on update the value. So that is what mutable. So I have just given the example here, string s is equal to string.empty. In this I am looping to 1000 times. What it does basically, it will create 1000 objects. When it comes to string builder, it will basically create one object using string.sp.append method. Later you can convert this sp to string, so that will ultimately give you an object. So that is the major difference between string and string builder. Let's get into one more interesting topic. So dictionary and hash table. So dictionary is a key value pair. You know already this. So when it comes to dictionary, so it is a generic collection. When you are trying to create a dictionary object, you have to explicitly mention its type. Dictionary string, comma, what is the value of value. Like, let me get into example. So let me create an example of dictionary here. Dictionary t key, t value. As I said, you remember generic methods, so same thing here. So here I am going to give string comma int my dictionary is equal to new dictionary int. So when it comes to as table, it is as table or as set. So as table. So system.collection, it is under system.collection. Table is equal to new as table. So you don't have to explicitly mention its type when it comes to as table dot add. You can give whatever you want. So you can give whatever you want. I'm going to give here 2. This is also key value pair. So when it comes to dictionary, my dictionary dot add, so string comma 1. So let's see what I'm going to do here. I'm going to make it 1. So same thing I'm going to add to dictionary 1 comma 2. So this will give me an error because you are explicitly mentioned your dictionary object with the string. So you cannot add which are all not of type string. So that is the difference between as table and dictionary. One more important difference between dictionary and as table is whenever you are trying to search a key in dictionary, if it is not present, it will throw up an exception, key not found exception. When it comes to as table, if you are trying to access the key, if it is not present, it will just simply return null. So that is the major difference between as table and dictionary. So first difference, it is strongly typed. You can call it as generics. Dictionary is generic collection. When it comes to as table, it can be non-generic. You can give whatever the type you want. So one more difference, when the key is not present in dictionary, it will throw up key not found exception. When it comes to as table, it will not throw any exception. It will simply return null. So we'll go through the difference now. As I said, as table is non-generic collection, so it can hold any type of you don't have to explicitly mention its type when you are creating it. A dictionary is a generic collection. You have to explicitly mention its type. Hash table is defined under system.collection. When it comes to dictionary, it is again system.collection.generic. That is the difference. In hash table, you can store key value pair of the same type or different type. In dictionary, you can store key value of pairs of same type. In hash table, there is no need to specify the type of key and value, but here you must specify the key and value. In hash table, if you try to access a key that does not present in the given hash table, then it will give you null values, but here it will give you an exception in dictionary. So it does not maintain stored values when it comes to hash table, but it stores the values in order. So let's get into one more interesting topic, method hiding and method overloading. So you guys must be aware of method overriding, I believe. So when it comes to method hiding, so it is kind of tricky. So like when it comes to method hiding, let's say you have a method in parent class and you are inheriting that, you are just deriving that class in your child. In that case, if you want to use the same method in which is present in your parent, you should go with new keyword and you can give your child specific implementation over there. So when it comes to method overriding, you should use in parent class virtual keyword. When it comes to child, you should override it. So let's see this in action. So I have created a virtual method. Okay, so there is a class called my parent. I have created a method called virtual. So this my parent has been used in my child class. What I am trying to do, virtual has to be override. If you are trying to override a class method, you should use override. So what I am going to show next is new keyword. So here same method is there, but I have not given virtual, but still there is a way you can give your child specific implementation using new keyword. So that is the difference between, that is how you can implement method hiding. So that is the difference between, this is not much required. I'm just giving some major in-depth knowledge of method overriding and method hiding. So whatever explained, if you explain that, that is sufficient for the interview. So let's get into one more interesting topic, polymorphism. What is polymorphism? Poly means many, morphism means form. One entity is acting as many forms. So there are two types of polymorphism in C#: static, you can call it as compile time polymorphism. One more is dynamic or runtime polymorphism. So I already explained method overriding, which is nothing but dynamic or runtime polymorphism. Like you have a parent class and that parent class has been derived in child class. So you have given a keyword virtual. So when you are overriding that particular method, that time whatever compiler does, it is dynamic polymorphism. So don't confuse here, method overriding is dynamic polymorphism. When it comes to static polymorphism, you can call method overloading. You already know, right? So method name will be same, but only the differences in sequences of parameters or number of parameters. So signature will be same, only difference in parameters and all, operating overloading. So this is how you can explain polymorphism. So I have given simple example here. See, so I have a program, inside that I have created a main method. And I have created three classes here. One is drawing. So that drawing class will have some methods. Let me explain what is my drawing class has. So I have a virtual method inside my drawing class area. So let me get into this. Assume that a drawing class has area method which is of virtual. So I am just inheriting that drawing class to circle, square, rectangle. So here drawing circle is equal to new circle. So I am creating an object of drawing type which is of type circle. Here what it does, circle dot area, whenever you are trying to call circle dot area, it will, you have already given override. So it will take the implementation of this and it will put it here. Same happens with square, same happens with rectangle. So this is what method overriding. This you can call it as a runtime polymorphism. Okay. Next, get into very interesting topic, singleton design pattern. What is basically singleton? Singleton is you are making sure that only one object and throughout your application. A class has only one instance in the program that provides a global point of access to it. So singleton, you are making sure only one instance of that particular object exists around the application. So there are multiple ways we can create singleton. So private and parameterless single constructor. Sealed class, through sealed class you can create a constructor. Static variable to hold a reference to the single created instance. And there are multiple ways, like using lock you can create threads safe. So let me explain how we can do this. So I have created a singleton class here. Inside that, as I said, there are multiple ways we can create singleton class, singleton object. So first option was you can create a class with singleton and you can make its constructor as private. If you make its constructor as private, nobody in the outside of this class will have an access to create an object of that object of this singleton. So I have created an instance here which is again of type private, but it is static, so you can access this outside. So using this method, what I am doing, public static singleton, I am returning a singleton object here. In this method, if instance is equal to null, just create an object of singleton, return that instance. So this is what you have to call singleton dot get instance. So one more option is using seed keyword. So again I am using private constructor here. So same, there is nothing extra here, seed or other way like without seed. One more option is using lock. So you have to create an private read-only object instance lock. There you can, if instance is equal to null, you can lock it. Inside that lock you can create an object and you can return that. So this is how you can implement a singleton. So there are multiple ways you can create singleton. As I already explained, no thread safe singleton, thread safety, thread safe without lock, with the lock. You can create multiple ways. So you must be wondering what is the difference between singleton and static class, when my singleton itself is a static class. So there is a difference. The static class cannot be extended, whereas singleton can be extended. You got my point, right? Singleton class can be inherited. Since I have not used static keyword, it can be inherited, where static classes cannot be inherited. So you cannot create an initialize, you cannot initialize where singleton class can be. A static class is loaded automatically by the CLR when the program containing the class is loaded. So this is the difference between singleton class and static methods. So we'll get into next topic, dispose and finalize methods. So dispose and finalize will be used for garbage collection. So dispose, it is used free unmanaged resources like files, database, connection, etc. at any time. This I have already explained in garbage collector topic. So it can be used to free unmanaged resources like files, connection held by the object before that object is destroyed. That is the difference between dispose and finalize. So this can be used at any time. This is before the object is destroyed. So it belongs to iDisposable object, iDisposable interface, where it belongs to object class. Finalize is object class. And performance wise, there is no performance cost associated with dispose method. There is a performance cost associated with finalize method, since it does not clean the memory immediately called by GC automatically. So it is always recommended to use dispose method to clean unmatched resources. You should not implement finalize method until it is extremely necessary. A runtime C# destructor are automatically converted to finalize method, but in VB.NET you need to override finalize method since it does not support destructor. You should not implement a finalize method for managed object, because garbage collector cleans up managed resources automatically. So let's get into one more interview question, delegates. So you must be aware of pointers in C++, right? So delegates, you can call it as function pointers. So what if you want to pass function as a parameter? So you want to pass function itself as a parameter. So in that case, there's an answer called delegate. It is a type that represents references to the methods with a particular parameter list and return the type. So when you instantiate a delegate, you can associate its instance with any method with a comfortable signature and return type. So there are multiple there are different types of delegates. Whatever I just explained is delegate, multicast delegates. Using plus, you can use multicast delegates. It's just like concatenation of string, right? You can call multiple methods using plus keyword. So the delegate syntax goes like this. You have to tell what is the access specifier and the keyword delegate, what is the return type. You can give the delegate name my delegate and parameters. So let me explain what I have done with respect to delegates. So I have created, as I said, delegate. Access specifier should be important, and keyword delegate and its return type and name and its parameters. So I am just created a delegate with the name of my delegate. Using this delegate, I am invoking a method called method A. If I go and check method A, it is expecting string message. That is what. So when you are creating a delegate, you are specifying string message. So this is how you can create a delegate. So delegates have the following properties, like fully object oriented. Delegates allows method to be passed as a parameters. Delegates can be used to define callback methods. Delegates can be chained together. As I said, multiple methods can be called on a single event using plus. Methods don't have to match the delegate type exactly. Lambda expression are a more concise way of writing inline code blocks. Lambda expressions are compiled to delegate types. So you know that LINQ, order by, or first or default, those are all delegates. So difference between delegates and events, like delegate declared using delegate keyword, and event is declared using event keyword. So basically those two are keywords. Delegate is a function pointer, the event is a notification mechanism. So you clicked a button, so that is an event. You are asking a method to invoke, that is a function pointer. So it holds the reference of one or more methods at runtime. Delegate is independent and not dependent on events, where an event is dependent on a delegate but cannot be created without delegates. You can call this event is a wrapper around delegate instance to prevent users of the delegate from resetting the delegate and its invocation list. So delegate includes combine and remove methods to add methods to the invocation list. Event info class inspect events and to hook up event handlers, that includes method add event handler and remove event handler. One more major difference is a delegate can be passed as a method parameter. An event is raised but cannot be passed as a method parameter. This is the major difference. The delegate can be passed as a method parameter, whereas an event is raised but cannot be passed as a method parameter. Equal operator is used to assigning a single method. Plus and equal is to multiple methods. So this is the difference between delegates and event. So event is basically event is a notification mechanism, whereas delegate is a function pointer. So after going through all these questions, you must be wondering, so there will be some programs, right? So make sure to learn some basic programs like reverse a string, reverse a number, whether number is given string is palindrome or not, Pebonic series. There are some questions that I will cover in the next session. So like I will be giving some useful information, what the best you can do in the interview, like whatever you are going to tell confidently. Don't hesitate to answer this is wrong, that is wrong. Don't worry about all those things. Whatever you know, tell confidently. So that is how you can create positive impression with recruiter. Yeah, this is all my video covers as of now. So thank you guys, thank you for your support and watching this video. If you are interested, please subscribe to my channel. I will be happy to come up with new solutions, new topics, new videos. Yeah, thank you guys, thank you very much for your time.